कश्मीरियों के हाथ में बंदूक पाकिस्तान की फौज ने दी थी, कश्मीरियों के हाथ में बंदूक भी पाकिस्तान की फौज ने दी, और पूरी पाकिस्तान की फौज ने। और तुम हमें बताते हो, हम जैसे डिप्टी कमिश्नर रावला कोट, तुम यहाँ पर रैलियां निकलवाते थे बंदूकों वाली या तलवारों वाली, याद है आप सबको? याद है कि नहीं है? सबको याद है, तुम रैलियां निकलवाते थे।
That's not an Indian security expert. That's not even an Indian politician. That's Sardar Aman Khan, a leader of the Joint Awami Action Committee in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, the very organization that Rawalpindi has now branded a terrorist outfit because it dared to challenge the Pakistani establishment. Listen carefully to what he's saying. He isn't accusing India. He's accusing the Pakistani army of doing what India has alleged for decades, arming militants in Kashmir and then rewriting the narrative when it suits them. In other words, this isn't New Delhi making the case against Rawalpindi, it's a voice from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir itself. And it comes at a time when Pakistan's military establishment continues to issue open threats against India, and its political leadership is using increasingly hostile rhetoric. Yet against this backdrop, a group of 117 prominent Indians and Pakistanis have released a joint appeal asking PM Modi and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to restore dialogue, revive trade, normalize relations. Now, on the surface, it sounds like another call for peace. But one paragraph in that letter has triggered serious concern in New Delhi, because this isn't just another appeal for Aman Ki Asha. It asks India to reopen discussions on Kashmir through a framework that many believe history and India's own constitutional changes have already moved beyond. So why has this letter become so controversial? Why are even those who support peace questioning its timing? And can dialogue really move forward while terrorism remains the biggest obstacle between the two countries? Let's break it down. First, let's talk about the letter itself. A year after Operation Sindoor, 117 prominent individuals, 61 from India, 56 from Pakistan, have issued an open letter calling for a reset in bilateral relations. Their argument is simple. Decades of hostility have denied millions of young people peace, prosperity, and opportunity. The letter therefore asks both governments to restart dialogue, revive trade, ease travel restrictions, and rebuild people-to-people ties. Now, among the Indian signatories are Farooq Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, Mirwaz Umar Farooq, Manishankar Iyer, Manoj Jha, and Jawahar Sircar. The Pakistani side includes Foreign Minister Khurshid Mahmood Kasuri, former diplomat Ashraf Jahangir Qazi, parliamentarian Ispaniar Bandara, and nuclear scientist Parvez Hudbhoy. Now, on the face of it, it's a familiar appeal. Peace, dialogue, Aman Ki Asha. But buried inside the letter is one proposal that has become the center of controversy. The letter doesn't just ask India and Pakistan to talk. It specifically urges them to revisit the Jammu and Kashmir framework negotiated between 2004 and 2007. Remember, that's the Manmohan Singh Parvez Musharraf period. Now, the framework at that time was never formally accepted by either of the governments, but it explored ideas reportedly like softer borders, joint mechanism, greater autonomy across both sides of Kashmir. Now, supporters call it unfinished diplomacy, critics call it reopening settled questions, because India's position today is fundamentally different. Since the abrogation of Article 370 in 2019, New Delhi has maintained that Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India. There will be no third-party mediation. And any future engagement with Pakistan cannot ignore one issue, of course, cross-border terrorism. Which is why many strategic observers argue that this letter is reviving old Kashmir formulas which no longer reflect India's current policy. The letter bomb, of course, came barely months after Pakistani Field Marshal Asim Munir openly threatened India with nuclear bombs.
We are a nuclear nation. If we think we are going down, we'll take half the world down with us.
That was Asim Munir speaking at a public event in Tampa, Florida less than a year ago. Think about that for a second. The man who effectively controls Pakistan's military and by extension its nuclear arsenal, publicly threatening nuclear escalation from American soil. And that wasn't an isolated remark either. In fact, since the Pahalgam terror attack, Operation Sindoor and India's decision to put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, Pakistan's political and military establishment has only become more confrontational. Just days ago, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari warned that either our water will flow or Indian blood will flow. The letter for India-Pakistan peace coming in this sort of a backdrop came in for quick criticism. Strategic affairs expert Sushant Sareen, for instance, questioned whether the Pakistani signatories had ever publicly condemned Asim Munir's anti-India rhetoric or Pakistan's continued support for terrorism. What are we talking about? Retired Major General Dhruv Katoch, in fact, also dismissed the letter as politically irrelevant. His argument is simple. Unless Pakistan changes its behavior on terrorism, dialogue alone achieves very little. Congress MP Manish Tiwari, he went a step ahead, questioned the timing of the letter. Barely a year after the Pahalgam massacre, why, he asked, is there suddenly such urgency to normalize relations? Supporters of the letter, of course, argue something very different. They say that the governments may disagree, but civil societies should keep talking. And that's where the debate really begins. For many Indians, this isn't an abstract discussion. It's about history and about Pakistani betrayal each time. Time and again, India has attempted diplomatic outreach. There was the Lahore bus journey, the Agra summit, the composite dialogue process, Prime Minister Modi's surprise visit to Lahore in 2015. But those diplomatic gestures were repeatedly followed by major terror attacks from Pathankot to Uri and, of course, Pulwama. The experience has shaped New Delhi's current doctrine. The Modi government has consistently maintained one position: terror and talks will not go together, which is also why India's official policy has remained unchanged even after this latest appeal. Dialogue, the government says, can only move forward if Pakistan takes credible action against cross-border terror. Until then, there will be no return to business as usual. So the debate isn't really about whether peace is desirable. Almost everyone agrees that, of course, peace is desirable in an ideal world. The real question is different. Can lasting peace be built when one side continues to face accusations of sponsoring terror? Can old diplomatic formulas work in a post-Article 370 world? And can dialogue succeed without accountability? For supporters, this letter is an appeal to keep hope alive. For critics, it is risking legitimizing old frameworks while ignoring the security realities that define India-Pakistan relations today. Ultimately, the decision won't be made by activists or retired diplomats or even so-called civil society groups. It will be made by the governments. And as of today, New Delhi's message remains exactly what it has been for years. Peace is welcome, terror is not, and the two cannot coexist. This is Times Axis, where global stories meet India's perspective. Click on the bell icon to subscribe because the next big global shift will have India at its center.